Tonight, a powerful mix of pop culture and Olympic sport is taking center ice. Global music icon Taylor Swift is lending her voice and her star power to introduce Team USA's women's figure skating trio ahead of the Winter Games in Milan. The three athletes, Amber Glenn, Alysa Liu, and Isabeau Levito, have dubbed themselves the Blade Angels. And now they're being spotlighted in a way rarely seen in Olympic figure skating. In a newly released video from US Figure Skating, Swift introduces the trio with cinematic flair, describing them as three American showgirls on ice, blending the glamour of performance with the grit of elite athleticism. It's a moment that captures not only the excitement around these athletes, but also the growing intersection of sports, storytelling, and global entertainment. Let's break down why this moment matters. First, the timing. The Milan Winter Games are now underway, and the women's short program is about to begin. Figure skating has always been one of the Olympics' most watched and emotionally resonant events. But this year, Team USA is framing its women's team not just as competitors, but as characters in a larger narrative of resilience, reinvention, and destiny. And each of these athletes brings a very different journey to the ice. Amber Glenn's path to the Olympics has been anything but simple. Now 26, she has fought through setbacks and near misses. Known for her ability to land the notoriously difficult triple axel, one of the most technically demanding jumps in women's skating, Glenn has built a reputation on perseverance. Her career has been defined as much by the losses she's absorbed as the victories she's earned. That resilience is central to her identity as an athlete. For Glenn, simply reaching this Olympic stage represents years of persistence, discipline, and belief in herself. Then there's Alysa Liu, whose story is one of reinvention. Liu competed at the 2022 Beijing Games as a teenager, then stepped away from the sport entirely. At just 16, she chose to retire, a decision that surprised many in the skating world. But in 2025, she made an unexpected return. This time, she says, the experience feels different, more grounded, more joyful. Instead of skating under pressure, she's skating on her own terms. That shift in mindset could prove powerful on Olympic ice, where confidence and mental clarity are often the difference between standing on the podium and watching from the sidelines. And finally, Isabeau Levito, the youngest of the trio at 16, enters the Games with a sense of poetic symmetry. With family ties to Italy, including a grandmother who lives just minutes from the Olympic rink in Milan, Levito's presence feels almost cinematic. She represents the next generation of American skating, disciplined, expressive, and deeply committed to the craft. Despite the competitive nature of individual skating, Levito has emphasized that what binds this team together is shared purpose. Different personalities, same passion. Together, they've embraced the nickname Blade Angels, a nod to both their artistry and their unity. Now here's where the Taylor Swift element becomes significant. Swift's involvement does more than create buzz. It bridges audiences. Figure skating already commands a global following, but having one of the world's most influential entertainers introduce these athletes expands the spotlight. It brings in younger viewers, music fans, and casual sports audiences who may not typically tune in for a short program. It also reflects a broader shift in how Olympic stories are told. Today's athletes are brands. They are storytellers. Their narratives extend beyond technical scores and into personal journeys, struggles, comebacks, cultural identity, and friendship. By framing Glenn, Liu, and Levito as performers with layered backstories, Team USA is positioning them not just as medal contenders, but as compelling personalities. And that matters, because Olympic competition is as much emotional as it is athletic. When these three take the ice for the women's short program, they won't just be representing the United States. They'll be carrying years of sacrifice, public scrutiny, and personal growth. And they'll be doing it in front of a global audience, in one of the most pressure-filled environments in sport. The women's short program begins Tuesday afternoon, followed by the free skate later this week. Scores from both segments will determine medal standings. But beyond medals, this moment signals something bigger. For Amber Glenn, it's validation after a long road. For Alysa Liu, it's proof that stepping away doesn't mean stepping back forever. For Isabeau Levito, it's the beginning of what could be a defining Olympic chapter. And for Team USA, it's a fresh way of presenting figure skating, blending sport, storytelling, and star appeal in a way that feels distinctly modern. As Milan continues to host the world's best winter athletes, all eyes will be on the ice. Not just for the jumps and spins, but for the stories unfolding in real time. We'll be watching to see whether the Blade Angels can turn that star-powered introduction into podium performances. And as always at the Olympics, anything can happen. Stay with us for continuing coverage as the women's competition gets underway.